What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to The Everyday Witness. We are here today. Obviously, it's been a little break. As usual, we've been really busy since school's got started, but I've been dying to tell y'all about this cool dude right here, man. I met him during Tiger Camp and also after. We've been hanging out a lot. We've actually been working out a little bit too. At the same time, not together. We kind of do our own thing. But, man, I'm excited to introduce to y'all one of my really good new friends. And his name is Daniel Tortorella. Daniel, appreciate you coming on, man.
Appreciate you.
Man, what I tell y'all, this dude has been a light in my life since the day I met him. He really has. We've had really good conversations, not only about the gospel, but also just about life and hanging out. We've watched countless football games, had many gospel conversations, and just had a really good time getting to know this man. But Daniel, why don't you kind of give us a little background, where you're from, how you got to ETBU, and just a little bit about yourself, man.
So, about me, I was actually born in New Jersey.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Boston.
But I moved to Texas when I was 7 months old. So I was born a Yankee, but raised a Texan. I like saying I've been raised a Texan. Kind of gets rid of the Yankee, but that's whatever.
I got you.
But yeah, I moved out to Texas when I was 7 months old, and kind of lived in the Dallas area until I was about 4, I think 5 or whatever. And then I moved to Honey Grove, which is where I currently live when I'm not living on campus. It's about 20 minutes from the Red River. It's a really small town, 1,600 people. And I went to Paris Junior College and got my associates. And there's a little bit more backstory behind that too. But went to Paris Junior College, got my associates, and then I heard about ETBU when I was 13 years old. I came here for Super Summer, which is a church camp that ETBU hosted for a couple of years, and then COVID hit, so that was unfortunate. Had to go elsewhere. I love this campus. But yeah, first heard of this place when I was 13, and then I applied in last year, 2024, got in, and now I'm here.
That's awesome here, man. It's funny. It's funny how y'all got started to get to see kind of how our campus brings people in, how people get brought into campus. It's kind of cool for y'all to see because for me, I just came here for sports, but other people came here in a lot different ways. So it's really cool for me to kind of see from y'all's viewpoint how y'all got here and just how it all happened. But all right, so obviously we've had a couple gospel conversations, me and you, but kind of take me. We haven't really talked too much about your testimony. Kind of take me through your testimony when if you grew up in church or not, when you accepted Christ, and when you got baptized, if it has. If not, totally cool. But kind of give me through your walk with Christ, if you will.
So yeah, I wasn't really raised up in a Christian household until I was about 8 years old, I'd say. And so, like I said, I moved out to Honey Grove when I was 5 years old, and moved out with my stepdad. So my mom and dad split up whenever I was 2, and then she met him when I was 3, and then when I was 5, he moved us out to Honey Grove, which is where he had the property. And then at about 8 years old, I think 7 or 8 years old, we started attending as a family. We started attending the church that I currently go to when I'm back home, Allen's Point Baptist Church. It's an awesome, awesome church. I love it there. Um, but I was 8 years old. I remember sitting in the service. We were worshiping. I can't tell you what song it was, but we were worshiping, and it was a really good time. And I felt this presence inside of me that I really couldn't explain. And I just remember like leaning over to my mom. I'm like, Mom, I feel the Lord inside right now. 8 years old, I'm having this feeling, right? The Lord is inside of me working on my heart. And then whenever I told my mom that, she's like kind of doing her happy dance. She's really excited. She's really excited. And kind of makes me excited too as an 8 year old to see my mom happy, especially for me. So I was really excited about that. And then I got baptized when I was, I think, 10 or 11. I got baptized, but I mean, at that age, you really still don't know a whole lot.
Yeah.
But I felt like I knew enough, and I was very proud of that decision. And so from then on, I was raised up as a Christian in a Christian household, great parents who really taught me according to the Bible, who raised me according to the Bible. Very thankful for them. I love them dearly. And then high school was just kind of like a slight test of my faith. And then I just got bullied a lot when I was in high school. That was the real test. Is I got bullied a lot. Matter of fact, my junior year, I remember this. It was my junior year. It was in my U.S. history class. I remember we had a discussion. I remember making a post that was very controversial, but it aligned a lot with biblical views. And the prompt was post something that you think is a big problem in the world. And so I posted something that was a big problem in the world, and I went with the biblical side of things. I ended up getting so much hate. People like blast my name all over social media, all over Snapchat, saying how I'm a terrible person and calling me really inappropriate names. I was like genuinely scared at that point in my life. I genuinely felt like I had people after me. I thought, I mean, I could almost take it to the extreme. I felt like my life was in danger. My life was basically on the line. And so I called my preacher and I broke down crying. I'm like 16 at the time. And he just kind of talked me through things and said everything's going to be all right. And
Hmm.
well, everything ended up being all right. It was just a little high school drama, but that was one of like the peak points, I guess you could say, of me getting bullied. But I mean, just having God on my side throughout that bullying, it's just I felt at peace. Of course, it kind of hurt, yeah. Being a high school student, you want to fit in, right? And so being bullied just kind of set a tone in my life to where like I didn't really feel important, I guess you could say. Um, and then move on to my senior year. Senior year of high school, really excited. It's supposed to be the best year of my life, practically. I'm soaking up all the last memories before moving into adulthood. And in the summer prior to my senior year, I was in a relationship, my first and only relationship to this point. I was 17 years old, and we had a great relationship throughout the summer. Me and this girl, she was awesome. And then a week before I started school, and it was the first day she started school, I specifically remember that. She's like, "Hey, I need to talk," and I'm dreading because I feel like I already know what's coming, and I get my heart broken. That was kind of the start of the roller coaster of my life, I guess you could say. 17 years old, first heartbreak. I felt like I was at a loss of what to do. I felt like I was at an all time low, that there was no coming out of this. I legitimately cried every day after school. I would go home in my bed and cry, I think 5 weeks straight.
Hmm.
Looking back now, I kind of view it as pathetic, but at the same time, I didn't really know how to deal with what I just went through. And so through that, God kind of strengthened me to where if I ever do find another relationship and that happens, I'll know what to do in that. So thankfully, I learned my lesson through that. Don't take things to the extreme. It's not the end of the world, but that didn't really help me in the point that I was in my life,
Hmm.
and that's where a lot of my depression and anxiety started. And I was just filled with fear, like what was going to happen next. I felt with fear like the devil was attacking me. I had my first panic attack at that time, or through that period. I think it was my first semester, my senior year. I had a panic attack for the first time, and my mom was right there beside me. I feel terrible for her because I couldn't imagine what she witnessed. It's like I was in another world, and I was like scared of every little thing. I was this far away, 2, 3 feet from the bed. I felt like I was fixing to fall off the bed. I was pushing myself up against the wall because I was just genuinely fearing everything in that moment. I felt like the devil was practically holding me down, and that was such a scary moment in my life. My second semester senior year was better. I finally got involved athletically. Track was my sport for
Hmm.
sure, and so once track season hit, I felt a lot better getting that exercise and everything. Man, throughout that time, I just had no motivation in my life. I didn't want to go out and do anything. I didn't want to have fun. I just wanted to sit in my bed and be sad, be depressed. And then all the way through my senior year, I was basically like that. And what made it even harder is my senior year, I lost my dog, my childhood dog, and that was really hard. I remember, so being a senior, we got out at lunch. I remember going to the restaurant with my friends, and then my mom calls me and lets me know that we had to put the dog down because he had a stomach tumor. He was going to suffer the rest of his life. We didn't want that. So that kind of took a toll. I was like right in the middle of my senior year, everything bad going on. And then fast forward, I graduate. Times are pretty great. And then I figured out that I wanted to do blue collar work. I wanted to go into trades. I wanted to go into construction. And so I took my first full time job 2 weeks after I graduated high school. It was a Fannin County. That's where I live. Was Fannin County. That's the county I reside in, and I was a road hand for one of the precincts in the county, and that was by far one of the areas of my life where I matured the most. I dealt with some people, very harsh. They weren't bad people, but they just grew up a lot differently. They were hardcore, and I basically just got screamed and cussed at all the time. Every little thing I did wrong is instantly screamed, instantly cussed at, put
It
down.
was amplified a little
Yeah, it
bit.
was very hardcore, and that wasn't the way I was raised up. I was raised up, um, I guess, in a quite average manner. Nothing extreme like the people. If back then, if you disrespect somebody, you get in trouble. My boss referred to you get your butt taken behind the bar and beat with a belt. I mean, they grew up hardcore, and so being around that, I was through a lot. I went through a lot of stress. Um, and that fed into my or that did feed into my anxiety a lot. And I got to a point where I didn't want, like I mentioned, I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to make any moves in my life when it came to career because I knew being at that job, I didn't want to be there anymore. I was so sick and tired of being there, but I was comfortable because of the fact that I had been at this job. It's a third of the mile down the road from my house. I'm driving 2 miles a week to work and back. And so the convenience of it, I'm saving a lot of money. I was so comfortable where I was at that I did not want to leave. And then it was in March of 2024. I just turned 19. We just gotten back from Beach Reach. And I joined back with an organization that I had been a part of for many years. It was a basketball organization. I started when I was in seventh grade, and I went all the way. I went to my freshman year, then COVID hit, and then my sophomore year of high school, I actually quit basketball, and then just focused on track and school. I started taking dual credit in college classes, and so I got back with them. I say about my senior year, and then progressed back to 2024, where we were just at. The owner of the gym, I know him very personally. He's a great guy. He offered me a volunteer coaching position. And I took it. I was like, you know what? I was finally at the point in my life where I was getting so tired of where I was at, my anxiety and all my fears and everything. I was like, I'm just ready to do something about it. So I did. I took that opportunity. I found my passion to coach. And one thing I haven't mentioned is how God has kept me stable throughout this whole time of my life. But I'll talk about God even more once I get to the further point. And so yeah, I took that position, found my passion to coach, and then that's when one thing I didn't mention is while I was working that full time job, I eventually dropped out of college, and so I finally enrolled back in college. I quit that the following summer. I actually worked a year and 1 day exactly at that job, and then I started taking summer classes, and then fall of 2024 enrolled in Paris Junior College. And while I was there, that was really, really a test of my faith because I got involved with the men's basketball team as a manager. I signed up because I wanted to be a coach. I needed this in my life. This is going to look good on my resume, and this is going to put a lot of knowledge in my head and experience that I needed to know and experience that I needed to have. And so when I took the job, I was expecting it to be pretty easy. Show up to practice, go back to my dorm, do my homework. didn't turn out to be that way. You had practice, you had film, and practically I was on call from the morning all the way until I went to bed, which I'm not sure if that's how it normally goes, but that's how things ran at Paris Junior College. And I made it through. It was a stressful time in my life, and I don't want to get into all the details of that, but I was very fearful in that time that, again, something bad would happen to me. Like I said, I don't want to get into details on that, but I made it through. I graduated. Now it's on to ETBU. So from the point of quitting my job and starting college all the way to now, I have struggled with some of the worst thoughts I have ever I've ever had practically. Uh, I mean, to put it blunt, thoughts of taking my own life, self harm, practically not even wanting to be on this planet anymore. I felt like I didn't exist. I felt like I was just a number. And all I could think about pretty much through all hours of the day is I don't want to be on this earth anymore. And through this entire time, I was not focusing on God whatsoever. I was not in my Bible. Church felt like a chore. Uh, and I wasn't really surrounding myself, I guess you could say, with biblical friendships and relationships. Not that they were demonic relationships, but it's just like I wasn't really around the people that I needed to be around to be able to succeed in God. I didn't have that group of friends. And so, um, something that I've actually never told anybody is I've taken part in some self harm, and I'm not proud of that. Um, I really don't want to get. I don't want to say that, but I would constantly punch myself in the head, in the temple. I'd bang my head against the wall. I'd yank my hair as hard as I could. Practically, I think I was trying to pull it out. I don't remember, but it was all a part of my anxiety and fearful, my fearful nature, my anxiety nature just took over me. And it's a feeling that I cannot explain. I feel like that's the most that I can explain it is talking about the self harm. That's how much I was overwhelmed. That's how much I was overwhelmed. And I will say this: if I did not have a relationship with God, even though I was not, I regret to say this, I was not relying on Him. I, f- I feel like 99. There's a 99% chance. I can't say 100 because I don't know what the future entails. There's a 99% chance that if I didn't have God in my life, I would not be alive. And that just kind of, man, it's just kind of one of those things where God is real. God works. And it's such a powerful thing that God can do in your life when you rely on Him. And so this past summer, right after I graduated Paris Junior College, once again I was sick of the way I was feeling, and I knew that I wasn't going to take my own life because I knew that wasn't in me. I knew that's not what God had for me. I didn't want to hurt my family. Also, I mean, I knew that would have devastated them tremendously if I had taken my own life. But I finally stepped forward to get some help. I refused help for so many years because I felt like I wasn't worthy of help. I felt like I was a nobody. And stepping forward to get that help, the best decision I think I made in the past few years. Um, I got to backtrack again throughout from 2023 of July to 2024 February. I went through two more losses in my life. I lost a friend that graduated with. Him and I were never close, but it's one of those things where you see each other at the gas station, you see each other at the rodeo, and you're like, hey, what's going on? He passed away. He was a volunteer firefighter. He passed away in the line of duty, 18 years old. And then the following February, 2024, I lost my papa. By far the hardest loss I've had to endure. But I have faith. I know where my papa's at. I know he's in heaven face to face with Jesus right now. That's something that can bring so much closure to people. And so I just had to backtrack that because those are 2 points in my life where I felt like they really affected the way I was feeling as well. And so fast forward back to this summer where I'm getting my help. I talked to my preacher one on one. He's like, this is what you need to do. I wasn't digging him up. I wasn't getting the Bible. He was like, this is what you need to do. You need to start in the Gospels. Start in Matthew. Started doing that. It was like day and night, dude. My life just changed. Uh, and then there was times where I didn't get in the Bible and my life went back downhill. And so that just goes to show how powerful getting in God's word is whenever you're in a relationship, or even if you're not in a relationship. Digging into God's word as a non believer is a good thing as well because you can be exposed to who God is. And I also joined a disciple group that's this past summer. So basically, we would meet once a week, kind of like men's ministry does here on campus. We would meet once a week with passages that we read throughout the week, talk about them and everything. So those were basically two steps that I took to better my mental health. And then I ended up here, and I met everybody. Met Landon, I met you, Tough, Caleb. I mean, the list goes on. And I don't think, on a personal note, I really do not think y'all know how much you've impacted my life. Going from being bullied and feeling like I've never had those friendships and a bond with people who accept me for who I am and are strong in God. And like this is exactly what I was dreaming whenever I came to ATVU, was having a good friend group. And so I'm extremely blessed to have y'all. But yeah, and now I'm here and now I'm doing much better mentally. I'm in a good place, good campus, good environment, great people. And the Spirit of God is just moving in my life. And for the first time in my life, I'm not living with a suicidal mindset. Times come, times come and go. You know, every once in a while thoughts pop in, but overall, I'm doing so much better mentally. And so that's the best I can give in my testimony right now off the top of my head.
Well, man, that's amazing to hear. And I know for me, hearing that is impactful to me because knowing them how much of an impact one person can have on somebody's life, even with a group of believers, like being able to be poured into like that, but also being poured back into, like you said, like how we poured into you, but man, you've been pouring into us since the moment you got here. And for me, being able to see God work through you has truly been an experience for me, and it's truly been a pleasure. And I can't wait to see where it goes from this. But kind of going off of what you said, and I kind of want to backtrack and kind of what you said, going to the point where you were talking about trying to figure out like why you were still here, the 99% you were talking about, like why your relationship with God like kept you here, man. Like that's the truth. And I feel like, I mean, with everything going on, y'all know what's going on. For those watching, y'all know what's going on with the what is it called, the stabbing of the girl, the killing of Charlie Kirk, the mass shootings going on in our world. We live in a world that is truly divided and is truly broken. And living in this world, we live in and not our generation specifically, but I learned this last night when I was at the student ministry at my church. I just started serving and all this just happened. The new generation, the high schoolers and the middle schoolers coming up right now, they seek an authenticity that we've never seen before. And we see it more and more. We're going to see it more and more as we start pouring into kids. And when some of us start going work at D-Nows and stuff like that in the next year, like we're going to see how much these high schoolers and middle schoolers like truly seek true honesty. And it's something that I feel like a lot of people in our age and our generation, like now, like that we're here at college with, don't understand because we've grown up in a world where like the truth has always been swayed and the truth has always been this and at one time and then changed in another. I feel like right now, like we need people, and I'm not saying this podcast is going to help, but we need people like you that are willing to tell the truth about your experiences and being vulnerable, because when we're vulnerable, people understand like, hey, I can trust this guy because he's telling the truth. He's not holding anything back, whether you were or not. But I believe you weren't. When we tell people the exact truth, 100% true, no hard feelings, no beating around the bush, nothing like that, the truth, we see a level of authenticity that literally, like, I'm gonna move this down so I can like move forward. But like, we see a level of authenticity where one person speaking to a crowd can change lives. I don't know if y'all saw the Charlie Kirk stuff. Obviously, he's dead, and we pray for his family. immensely because it is a true tragedy to this country and to some of us who've grown up in a world where we've listened to this guy and we've agreed with him, whether his political beliefs are great or not. We believe that a devout Christian such as himself being able to pour into people with such biblical knowledge and being able to change lives through that. Because I've seen friends that have literally begged for more videos from him and literally have cried ever since what's happened because of how impactful their life has been impacted, how much their life has been impacted by his teachings. How do you say them? Forums, those things. Like, we live in a world where like these people need to know the truth and they need to hear it from someone. I mean, Charlie Kirk spoke in a mic, and I heard it today when we were at our student meetings for New Beginnings. Shout out my New Beginnings people. Student team was awesome. Heard it today, like there was a reel, and it was Charlie Kirk. It was a little graphic. It was a little cartoon graphic, and it was real. It was him, and it was these people in heaven. It was Jesus and two other guys. I can't remember the names. But Charlie was looking back and he was like, "Who's this mic for?" And it was an open mic. And Jesus in this cartoon said, "Man, that's what we're here to find out. Who's going to take the mic next?" Because as soon as, I don't know if y'all heard about the stabbings, as soon as those stabbings happened at Ohio State University in Ohio, and the Ohio State Buckeyes, big horseshoe, go Buckeyes, all that stuff. There were football players that led a revival of over 1,000 students. And over 100 people gave their lives to Christ. And I don't know how many were baptized, but people were baptized. They worshiped, they shared testimonies, and they weren't afraid. People like that are the people that are going to take this mic, this open mic, not this one specifically, but are going to take that open mic and they're going to share the word. And it's going to be really cool to see because like we live in a world right now where the ones who take the mic are going to be the ones who are going to change the world. I think it's really cool. I don't know why. I just got really excited about it. I'm jumping up in my seat right now, but like, I want to see what happens next because the Lord, I don't know if y'all see what's going on. He is coming. He's coming back. And if this stuff going on in our world doesn't say that enough, like I'll say it a million times. Jesus is coming back and we better be ready because I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I'm excited because I'm starting to see that the Lord is making many things happen in this world for his good. And we're just getting started. But anywho, back to the podcast because I'm so sorry for ranting. That's obviously everybody has a story, and for me, it's my testimony, and I think it's really cool. But for others, it's their testimony or a part of their testimony or a random story that where they just saw God work at a camp or in their life or even just in school from a teacher, from a coach, from a student, and student teaching for those who do elementary education. Weirdos. Anyways, but I feel like everybody has a story, and I'm kind of curious. What is the story you have for us today, Daniel?
In regards to God working in my life, or how I've seen God work in other people's lives, or
either one, whatever you would like to share.
I gotta say how one of my friends got his call to ministry.
All right, let's hear it,
dude. So his name's Hudson. Him and I grew up together, graduated high school together. Mm-hmm. Absolutely awesome guy. I mean, he was just, I think he was voted Mr. HGHS in our high school. He was popular. Awesome guy. Really cool guy. We were at Beach Reach. It was my first year, 2023, spring break 2023. Went to Beach Reach for the first time, and it was also Hudson's first time. So half of us were on the vans, going out, giving people rides. Half of us were in the prayer room back at the church on the island.
Love the prayer room. Dude, shout out Beach Reach.
Such an awesome.
We're excited for 2026. Please continue. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. But I just remember I was on the van. He was in the prayer room at the time of his call to ministry. And from what I remember, this was his call to ministry, if I can remember correctly. But I remember we were on the van. We picked up a guy. No. Okay, I'll say this first. Hudson was in the prayer room, and he just kind of felt God working on him, and he felt God tell him to take off his shoes. Weird, right?
Well, yeah, it's a little weird, but it's God speaking. Come on,
God's working. God calls Hudson to take off his shoes. Hudson opens his Bible, I think he prays. He opens his Bible. Guess what story? Moses taking off his shoes.
Oh, brother. God, you're an insane sense of humor.
At the same time on the van, we picked up a guy. Guess what the guy's name was?
No
Moses.
shoes.
Okay, that's good.
Sorry, I had to. Anyways, continue.
No, it was good. The guy's name was Moses.
His name was Moses.
At the same time, Hudson had no idea what was going on in the van.
Mm-hmm.
Us in the van had no idea what was going on with Hudson in the prayer room. Then we get back to the house that we were staying at on the island. We're talking it over to like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. Our shift ended at like 3 in the morning. We get back, we're talking about it. He has all of his notes. He's going through all his notes. At the same time, he's shedding tears because this is it's a powerful moment being called to ministry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm called to ministry myself. I didn't really have an emotional moment that I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people have emotional moments when they're called to ministry.
No, absolutely.
And I remember him saying he was scared, which is completely normal because our youth pastor, Benji and his wife, Kayla, are 2 youth pastors back at my church. Also awesome people. There's so many awesome people.
No, absolutely.
But I remember Benji telling him, because Benji, of course, was a youth pastor in our church. He had his call to ministry, and he was just kind of telling Hudson that, hey, it's normal to be scared. Because I think, one, a call to ministry financially isn't really the best, I feel like. I don't really know. There's other areas.
No, yeah.
But like, of course, the money does not matter. If you're doing God's work and you're serving
it's
Him,
the purpose that matters.
yes, He's going to take care of you as long as you are obeying Him and living by Him and giving Him the glory and being humble in that ministry position. He's going to bless you. He's going to take care of you. But I feel like that has a part to do with it, but also not just financially, but also the sense of, okay, where am I going to go? Because I felt that for many years, so I can feel for Hudson. He was probably. I'm not trying to take words or put words in his mouth, but I genuinely feel like he was probably scared in a sense that he didn't know where he was going to go when it came to the ministry part. And man, that was just such a powerful moment to see his call to ministry. The whole story with the shoes, the van ride, going back, looking over his notes. All of us are sitting in the circle at the table, just kind of talking over the whole situation and just basically supporting him through this. I would by far say, from what I can remember, that's the most like spiritual moment I've ever experienced, was seeing my friend Hudson called to ministry.
That's awesome to hear. For those who don't know, Beach Reach is an initiative journey. It's a mission trip every spring break. And it looks different for most colleges depending on where you're at. But for those my Knoxville people, y'all go to Panama City Beach. And it's a really cool opportunity. Y'all do Beach Reach there in Destin, Panama City, that Miramar Beach, that area. And it's really cool. But for my Texas people, we take a trip all the way down to South Padre Island. And my guys, Noah and Slade, who also live with me, were there. Landon, were you there? Landon was not there. He will be possibly going next year. Fingers crossed. But a group of us took 3 vans, about 25, 30 of us, I believe. We go down there and we have worship and fellowship. But every night throughout the week, we give out free van rides to those who are coming because South Padre is a big spring break area in Texas. And when we go there, the idea is that we want to share the gospel with the spring breakers because there are a lot of people from colleges, frats, sororities, all those kind of people that don't know the love of Christ and most of them don't have a relationship with Christ. So our initiative is that we want to share the gospel with them and in a little weird way. So we give out free van rides for people. They can call hotline and they can get a free van ride, say from a club or a bar. And we'll give them a free van ride back to their condo, their room, hotel, wherever they're at. But while we do that, we have an opportunity for us in the van, in a group of people, y'all assign when y'all get there, to share the gospel with them during that time. We have little cards and all that, but we have really good conversations. And hearing that from you is really cool because I kind of had, I'll share a little bit of the story.
Mhm.
I had an instance where we had a group of girls, and sweet as could be, and a man who believed that he was not of a male or female gender and that I was gay. Now, I want to say that to say that I just want to keep that there. But we had a group, and I was talking with one girl. Her name was Amaranta, and she called herself Ama, so we'll say Ama. But I had a conversation with her, and she had grown up Catholic, and she had gone to church, and then she went to Texas State. All of them went to Texas State. They were all close, had fun while they were down there, all that. But we were talking to her. She started telling me about how her relationship with Christ has started fading away, and then she went to church, but that she felt like, and I call them, I like to say the word checklist Christian, or they do it. They go to church on Sunday, they go eat, they check it off the box, they go back next week, and it's like an attendance thing. And and we kind of talked about that, and I was like, we got to understand that as much as going to church every week is a very high priority, throughout the week is when most of the actual time with the Lord is, because that's the time you spend on your own and you pour into yourself and have the word pour into you, because that right there is where God moves in you the most. And we got to pray with her, and hopefully, fingers crossed, she said she was going to come back next year around the same time. So if we get to have that conversation with her, I would love for y'all to hear the story, and we'll keep y'all updated with that. But Beach Reach is a really cool opportunity because not only do you get to grow close with people that you have van rides with, and I saw 3 guys that I talked to from there. Shout out Magnus if he's listening. But you also grow close to the people that go on the trip with you. And with my roommates being the way they are, and also Braylon, I got to really know them and got really close with them. And if it wasn't for that trip, I don't know where I'd be today, because the amount of friends I made for that and grown close with them with is something I will never take for granted ever again. So shout out Beach Reach, and perhaps to you for going to high school, because a lot of people don't get the opportunity. And it's mainly colleges, but there are high schools that do it. I think it's a really cool opportunity for y'all to get to do. But anywho, a couple more questions for you, and then we'll kind of we got some things to do, so make sure we have time for y'all, but also time to respect your time as well. So obviously, I feel like everybody has a favorite Bible story, and whether that's, and last week I believe Tuff said the story of Paul, just story, not a specific story, but the story of Paul in general. Mainly his conversion, I think was what he was talking about. Paul to Saul, Saul to Paul, the other way around. My bad. But everybody has a story that they believe is really impactful in their life, whether they were taught it as young, when they were young and it's kept them since, or it's a new one they've heard. And for me, it was the story of Shamgar. And I won't go too into that. I'll tell you all a little more about the story of Shamgar, because he only actually gets 40 words in the entire Bible, but they're really impactful. But obviously, I want to know, what is the most, I want to say impactful, but what is your favorite and most impactful? If that's one or two, what is the most impactful Bible story in your case?
So I definitely have 2 favorite Bible stories.
Let's hear it.
But one of them is definitely more powerful than the other, I'd say.
All right.
So I'll start off with the most powerful is just the story of Abraham. And his walk with God. Incredible. That's awesome. But it's the fact that God called Abraham, leave everything you have and go forth. Didn't give him any details. All he told him was what was in the covenant. I will make your name great. I'll show you to a land. Bless those who bless you, curse those who curse you, and curse all, or bless all families through you. So God and Abraham have that covenant, and Abraham really has no idea what he's getting into. And God also promised him children. And so Abraham was basically walking blindly. And I can relate to that so much because throughout my life, of course, I have an idea of what I want to do. I'm at ETBU studying kinesiology because I want to coach. I want to go into children's ministry. I have all these things that I want to do and that I believe that I will be doing, but of course, we never know. But I feel like a lot of my life, especially these past 3 years, through this walk of a lot of horror and a lot of good, I felt like I've just been walking blindly. And not in a bad way, but God is basically, he has his hands on my shoulders.
Abraham a little bit.
Yeah. God has his hands on my shoulders, and I have a blindfold on. He's just doing this: go left, go right. And so Abraham walking through with his faith in God just kind of shows me how I need to be whenever I walk in with God. Walking blind is not a bad thing whenever you have God by your side.
No, absolutely.
So by far, that's the most powerful for me. And then right below it is the story of Peter walking on water.
Such a great story.
And this is like, it's kind of been my go-to. I love sharing, or whenever I get an opportunity to like share a message or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
I love using this one because it talks about what life can be like with God and what life can be like without God. And so, of course, they were all in the boat. They were freaked out. A storm was coming, and or a storm was already there practically. And they see Jesus approaching on the water, walking on water. That doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. It's Jesus. Uh, and so, whenever Peter goes, "All right, Lord, if it's really you, command me to come out into the water with you." And so Jesus said, "Come on."
Mm-hmm.
Peter was walking on water with Jesus because of his faith. But what happened when he lost his faith? He started sinking. And like I said, that's just the night and day of what it's like with God and what's like without God. And walking with God, it's like I'm able to just be up and be happy and have a clarity of what life is all about. And that's fulfilling the Great Commission, spreading God's word, making sure people are firm in their belief, or firm with Christ and their relationship with God. And so those two stories for sure have the biggest impact on my life and kind of exemplify how I want to walk with God and how I want to walk through life.
That's amazing to hear. One final question, and then that'll kind of be it for us, the end for us. But I feel like everybody has a life verse, a verse,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's their life verse or it's their favorite verse, but a verse that's been either part of their entire testimony and journey, or whether it's just a verse that they picked up along the way. Like for me, y'all see the 1-7 around my neck, stands for 2 Timothy 1-7. For God did not give us a spirit of fear, but a power of love and self-control. A really good verse for what's going on in our world today. If you think about it, remember that. But everybody has a favorite verse or life verse that they've just kept close to their heart. I'm kind of curious, what would you consider your favorite? Well, I won't say favorite life verse, but your life verse or a verse that's been really close to you to me.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it's 1 Timothy 4:12.
All right.
And I can't quote it exactly, but it says, "Do not let anyone look down on you."
I can.
Do what?
Timothy, what did you say? 1 Timothy 4.
1 Timothy 4:12.
You know, I think I no, but I'm gonna let you read it because
Yes.
it's at the top left. 1 Timothy 4:12. I would love to hear it because I don't think I've heard this verse before.
So it says, "Let no one look down on you for your or on your youth." No, okay, let me repeat that. "Let no one look down on your youthfulness, but rather in speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity, show yourself an example of those who believe."
So, what does that verse mean to you?
So basically, in a nutshell, I feel like it's don't let people look down on you because you're young, but set the example. You know, being a young Christian, 20 years old, accepted Christ when I was 8, baptized when I was 10, 11, somewhere in there. I don't remember exactly. Um, I feel like, first of all, like in the real world, the young ones, meaning the young adults or maybe teenagers, they don't really know that much about life as adults do. And
Mm-hmm.
so they could be, quote unquote, looked down to. When in
Look
reality,
down upon, yeah.
but in reality, their life is just as important, of course. And they'll grow up to know everything that, not everything, but most common sense things and a lot of things that the adults currently know. But I feel like just, how do I say it? Being young, being a young Christian, and it might not even be age wise, it may be young as in you're new in Christ.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you can just be looked down on because, like, okay, you probably raised up in a church, something like that. You know, you might be judged, or I'm trying to explain this as clearly as I can,
No, absolutely.
but I feel like it's just so. Oh man, this is difficult.
You mind if I attempt?
Yeah, go ahead. You might help me out a little bit.
I think what you're trying to say, correct me if I'm wrong, please.
Okay, you're good.
But we live in a world where the youth, the children, the students, the young adults are looked down upon just because adults feel like they know more.
Mm-hmm.
And we live in a world where, especially when youth speak out, that that the adults don't listen. Mm-hmm. And when we try to speak, when we try to preach, when we try to do that, like we're looked down upon just because obviously we're younger. That's why you see most college kids and like young adults and students, like we go into a sense of loneliness, a sense of even suicide because we feel like we're not heard, whether it's in our beliefs or whether it's just in general. And I feel like the verse kind of states that, like, don't let that be the reason you are fearful. I was listening to a song on my way back from church this morning, working at the church and everything as an intern, and it was called "No Fear." Even though even though I walk through the valley, I will have no fear, no fear. In the mighty name of Jesus, I will conquer all fear. John Reddick. I might be wrong by those lyrics. Please don't tell him I said that. I guess he's a cool dude. I haven't met him. He's a Christian artist, so I don't know about that. But we live in a world where fear drives a lot of what we do because a lot of people speak out about their faith. And the ones that do, obviously you can see what happens about that. The devil is always present and the demons around us are always trying to stop us from saying the word of Christ because even the demons know the name of Jesus. And they don't want his name to be glorified. So they try to stop it with everything that happened with Charlie Kirk yesterday. I mean, I keep bringing it up. I mean, come on. The dude was the example of what we should be as Christians, going out there and tackling the hard questions and being able to talk about it. Like the verse says, don't let your youthfulness be the reason you stop. And I think that's just a message that everyone needs to hear because as young adults, we have a voice that not many people have. Because at the same time that young students and children look up to us, in the same way, some parents do too. Some younger adults, like the older generation, like they also look to us because we are technically considered adults. We're in this weird age where we have the adult tendencies, but we also are looked up to by both sides. And it's really cool to see because like one time of any young adult getting on a mic and being able to go out like Bryce Crawford, love the dude to death.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh,
he's good.
He goes out like that, and he just is able to speak so fluently about the Gospels, about the Bible, and he doesn't have no fear about it. Like we need to make sure that just because we're a certain age of the teens or the teens, the teens and the teens, from age 10 to age 30. We don't need to have fear because regardless of what we do, God is always going to have a plan for our lives. And with that, we cannot let, and I keep saying the word youth, our youth cannot be the reason we don't speak up because the moment we stop speaking up is the moment the devil wins. And when we do speak up, it's the moment he understands that we're a threat. And obviously he doesn't like that. So the more we speak up, the more we are doing what God has called us to do, which is to fight the demons that are fighting back against God and who he's using in our lives because we are everyday witnesses. Gotcha. But we are everyday witnesses to be able to explain to people God's grace and God's mercy, but also God's love. And the love he sent when he sent his son to die on the cross for our sins so that we can have a relationship with him after he rose from the dead. Of course, rose from the dead 3 days later. Shout out him. But he literally rose from the dead so we can have a relationship with the one true living God. A God who loves all, knows all, and will forever be glorified. Forever. Literally. I mean, think about that. Eternity, we literally will die. If we have a relationship with Christ, we will be able to go into heaven and rejoice and know his name for the rest of our lives, dead or alive, in eternity. And it's just like, come on. Like, I know people are afraid of death, but like, Shoot, if you want to kill me now, let me go see Jesus. You know how happy I'll be? Being able to live a life holy and acceptable to Him, and then the moment you die, knowing that you will go to live with the Father and be with Him. And obviously, be happy and joyful. Because is the Christian life easy? No. But does it bring so much joy when we do stuff like this, when we talk about the gospel, when we have fellowship with brothers and sisters? Yes. And that's the beauty of being a Christian. So don't let your youth be the reason that y'all decide not to speak up. Because when you speak up, not only do the people around you listen, but God does too. I think that might have been wrong, but we're going to rock with it.
That was good. And that kind of gave me my thought back. Like, young people are, yeah, good job, Hank. Yeah, so young people, according to that verse, young people aren't any less important. They aren't They aren't any less capable. They're just as capable. You don't have to know every single.
Fire me up. I like it.
You don't have to know every single book in the Bible. You don't have to know every single story, every parable. You don't have to know everything. Literally, sharing the gospel is not educating yourself. It's sharing what you know.
It's educating others.
And just because you're young doesn't mean you can't do that. I mean, a 10-year-old, 9, 10 years old, who believes in Jesus, yeah, I love Jesus. He saved my life. That may be some simple words, but that's not simple words. That's much more powerful. And so that's kind of good. Thank you for helping me on that. That's kind of where like my thoughts kind of wrap around that verse right there. Is young people, like you said, have such an influence. That's such a good point.
They have such a voice.
It's a new generation. And so there's so much more power in that than people believe, like you said. I'm going to stop repeating, but yeah, that's my favorite verse, and yes, that is the significance behind it for sure.
I'm going to say this before we get off because I feel like it's very powerful, especially with what's going on in our world today. There are not a lot of ways to find the truth. We live in a world where the truth is being skewed by politics, by other religions, by what we say and what we do, and cultural Christianity, and those who don't believe in the certain things that we do. But one thing I will say is that if you want truth, look at this thing right here. The gospel right here, the word of God, is the truth, is the only truth. And do I hate people that are in other religions? No, but I pray for them. I pray that they come to their senses. I pray that they see the light. Because when we have a relationship with God, your life has changed. I remember the day I got baptized with my brother, when we finally showed people what we truly believe. And I remember the night that I accepted Christ. I remember the night I rededicated my life to Christ, because I knew that my faith wasn't where it needed to be. When you do that, though, you have this new sense of purpose. A purpose where God is going to use you in so many insurmountable ways to proclaim His gospel to the nations. Whether it's whether you consider your nation Marshall, Texas, whether you consider your nation Texas in general, whether you consider it the United States, whether you consider it the world, God's going to use you to use God. My bad. God is going to use you to spread the gospel in a way that only you can. And whether it's you with your coaching, fingers crossed that goes through, because I would love to see you coach. I think you'd be great at it. Whether it's me with this podcast, whether it's me serving at a church, whether it's my dad speaking at camps still, whether it's my dad coaching, whether it's people I know doing the things they love, God is going to use what you do best to proclaim His gospel so that the world can know that Jesus is King. He is the only King, and He will forever reign in heaven and on earth. Dang, we have been preaching for a minute, man. I would not have it any other way. I want to thank you first off for coming on here. I know it's kind of last minute. We talked about it literally in the gym today when we were lifting. Yeah. Shout out Ornelas.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Don't worry. But I do appreciate you for coming on. I've been wanting to talk to you about your testimony because I think it is really powerful, and I really think you can do amazing things with it. So thank you so much for coming on here, and I hope y'all have enjoyed it. I know y'all have, because being able to do this is a true blessing, and being able to share it with y'all is even truer. But obviously, we have things to do, so sadly, this is all the time we have. But Daniel, I want to thank you for coming on. It's been a
Thank you,
pleasure,
Bex. I
and
appreciate it.
fingers crossed to y'all coming up soon. We are going to have a lot more episodes. We've been really busy, and maybe in the next few days I might get another one out. But if I don't, y'all stay tuned in and pray that God not only uses y'all, but uses us for His testimony. But before I go, I want to say, please be praying for our country. Be praying for the Kirk family. We live in a world right now that is really dark and evil. So prayers up to everybody. But hope y'all have a great day. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And this has been the Everyday Witness. Thank y'all so much.